Vale from Dothan Technology Center.
Okay, Mrs. Vale, well, we are so happy that you all have chosen to spend your day at Athens State University. Thank you so much. We hope that you have had a wonderful time thus far. You've learned a lot in your sessions, and we're going to keep that same path because we have another wonderful session today. We have a panel of experts. Their topic is Hear from the Experts, Elementary Education Teachers. I have Mr. Reggie Cooper, Horizon Elementary, Madison City. Miss Cathy
Gutknecht.
also, okay, Gutknecht, McDonnel Elementary, Huntsville City. Miss Alex Lann, Brookhill Elementary, Athens City. Mr. Eddie Murphree, Cowart Elementary, Athens City. Miss Sharon Para, Sparkman Middle, Madison County. Miss Whitney Sutherland, Rolling Hills Elementary, Huntsville City Schools. At this time, our elementary teachers will further introduce themselves and just give you a blurb of why they chose a career in elementary education.
I'm Eddie Murphree. This is my 19th year as a physical education teacher. I also coach at Athens High School right down the road here. I'm a girls basketball coach and assistant freshman football coach. And I went to Athens State, went right here, and enjoyed every second of it. Got to meet a lot of good people, made some good contacts. I substitute taught for 1 year, and I think that really helped me. My parents were educators, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. Knew there wasn't going to be a bag of money waiting on Fridays, but that's okay. So I say that to say that it's been a good journey for me. And my wife is librarian at the same school that Miss Lann teaches at, so I guess our whole family's kind of involved in it. But I've enjoyed it, and I think PE is very, very, very important, especially in the elementary school setting. I know as they get older, maybe it's not as structured, but I am a PE advocate. That doesn't mean everybody has to be able to do 50 push-ups and run a mile in an X amount of time, but I do believe our children need to learn to cooperate with each other, get along with each other, and have a structured physical education setting. So I look forward to hopefully hearing some questions from some of y'all here in just a few minutes.
All right, my name is Reginald Cooper. I'm at Horizon Elementary School, and I teach first grade there. I'm also the head football coach at Liberty Middle School, and the boys' 7th grade basketball coach there as well. My path to education comes through my family. They've always been in education. My dad is an educator, and kind of just growing up around it, that was something that I wanted to do. I believe in education, you gotta have passion for it. It's just it's a rewarding field to go into. Maybe not monetary rewarding, but intrinsic rewarding. And so the benefit every day, no day is the same. Everything is different. If you know other people in different fields, you know they have the same day but different day type of field, but education is far different from that, so that's kind of why I chose that field. I went to Alabama A&M. I graduated there and stayed here in Huntsville, got a job right away because in first grade, I guess there's not many men in first grade, and so it was really easy for me to find a job in that field. But I really enjoy first grade. I've been there for 12 years, been teaching for 12 years, so it's just something that I've always loved and always wanted to be a part of. I enjoy seeing the little ones growing. You know, I teach them reading. That's the most important thing coming out of first grade, is them to learn how to read. And so I guess that's what you see a lot of hard times is when older kids drop out of is the struggling reader. So being able to teach reading and improvement rating throughout the year is very beneficial.
My name is Sharon Para. This is my 24th year teaching, and I'm actually a middle school teacher. I teach 7th grade pre-AP. And I am a first generation college graduate. My mom finished high school, but she was not able to go to college, but she stressed that education was very important and that education was the way that your life could be elevated. And I chose education because so many people that were in my community that actually fed into my life, they were the teachers. And somehow, a long time ago, I guess about 5th grade, I fell in love with a language arts teacher who could not only teach language arts, but she had a piano in her classroom, and she could actually go to that piano and play and sing and that type of thing. And so she also became my mentor. And so even as a 7th grader, I knew what I wanted to do and what I planned to do. So God blessed me that I was able to scholarship to college, and I went to Alabama A&M University, and I was actually able, through scholarships and other things, to actually earn 3 degrees in language arts. So I see it as an opportunity to give back, and I think the farthest way to get anybody to elevate is through what they're exposed to. So to see people come in and learn things and develop their critical thinking skills. I tell my husband all the time that what could really illuminate anybody is to be able to read, like he said, and to be exposed to things that will develop us. My big thing is I don't have a bad day, even after 24 years, but if someone were to ask me, even on the day that maybe I'm a little discouraged about students not trying to do their best, but my husband always brings me back with this question: what would you do if you didn't teach? And my answer would be nothing.
Wow. I'm sitting with some amazing people, and I'm kind of wondering why I'm here. My name is Whitney Sutherland. I'm a first-year teacher. And unlike these guys, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I knew that I wanted to be a mother. I got married at 21. I had kids. I stayed home with them. And then I volunteered in their schools. And then I was excited, and I was happy about the relationships that I was building with children, the growth that I was seeing, the love that they were having in their own learning. And my children are, some of them are on the higher end, and then I had a child that has dyslexia. So looking at different learning styles of children really made me want to get into the classroom and to help other students the way their teachers had helped my children. I graduated from Athens State last year, first-year teacher at Rolling Hills, teaching 3rd grade. I'm still building relationships with the students, the families, the faculty. I am learning that I'm always going to be learning. Being a teacher is being a lifelong learner. You have to be able to adapt to things changing quickly. The days are not the same. You have to be able to think on your feet. I love going into the classroom. I love the kids. I love the families. And I'm glad that I know that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Hi, I'm Alex Lann. When I was growing up, I can't tell you how many papers I wrote titled, "I will not be a teacher." My mother is a teacher, and she works so much harder than my dad ever did. And my dad made like double what she made. And on Take Your Daughter to Work Day, I'd go with him, and I'd kind of switch it up, and sometimes I'd go with him, sometimes I'd go with her. And I saw my dad sitting around, playing on the computer. I thought, yep, that's it. That's what I want to do. And so when after I graduated high school, I went to the University of Alabama with the intent of getting my degree in environmental engineering. I had it all planned out. I was going to go work at NASA because they have, the environmental engineers get to work at night, which really appealed to me. I'm not a morning person. And I thought, oh, that's it. Well, then I got down there, and as part of the environmental engineering program, you have to do community service hours. And so my community service hours were spent in an elementary school in Holt, Alabama, which is very close to the university. It is a low-income school. The majority of the families, their kids were there because they couldn't, it was after-school care for them. And we would tutor, and it was run by the university, and it was a really great experience. And when that semester ended, I was like, man, that really, I'm gonna miss those kids. That was a lot of fun. And I told my mom, I was like, man, I was kind of bummed. I said, I'm gonna volunteer next semester, even though I don't have to. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I volunteered the next semester, and those engineering courses were not as fun as my tutoring was. Just like, if you think it's all right, I might switch. Mom was like, nope, don't switch. I know you, go ahead. And so she did know me because she knows that I'm gonna do the exact opposite of what she tells me to do. So she said, no, don't do that. So of course, that was exactly what I was gonna do. I changed my major to elementary education, and when I did, I decided that it didn't make, I went to my advisor the first time at Alabama. I took a couple of courses down there, and my advisor said, oh, you're from Athens? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, why didn't you go to Athens State? And I thought, well, I can save myself a lot of money and go to Athens State. I can live at home. And so I did. I transferred to Athens State. I graduated in December of 2013. And the same week I graduated, I got called in for an interview for a teacher that was retiring. I was hired. Then I spent my entire Christmas break setting up a classroom. I didn't know, the very first week that I was there, my school is a Leader in Me school, so we had visitors from the symposium, so there were people coming into my classroom, and I thought, I don't know what I'm doing, I've got visitors, but I'm learning that that's par for the course now, and but I enjoy it. I wake up, even when I have my bad days, and I'll go home and cry and say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I should have stuck with engineering. Something happens, I read a paper, or I see a kid at the grocery store, and, hey, Miss Lann, yeah, you're a rock star when you're a teacher. And, it is just kind of that little spark that you need sometimes that, well, it's what I need. I need that little, woo, happy to see you. So I did, it has been enjoyable. It's been a lot of work. I am working twice as hard as my dad does, but it's all right, it's worth it.
I'm Cathy Gutknecht, and I'm the oldest one here, I'm sure. I started teaching in 1979, so this is my 35th year. I think I started out as a physical therapy major. I went to the University of Wisconsin. And I started out as a physical therapy major, and I found that when I worked with my CP kids, I enjoyed more just teaching them than the physical therapy aspect. So I thought, maybe I should look into education. And I loved it, got into it, and really, really liked it. So became a teacher. And my husband was in the military for 20 years, so I've been very fortunate to be able to teach all over the world. So I've been able to see a lot of different schools, a lot of different districts, and thousands of teachers through the years. And I think what I can really say the most, and advice I would give, I have seen, the teachers that I have seen that have lasted the longest have been the teachers, like all these people up here, who have a real passion for education. If you don't have that passion, then you shouldn't be in education, because that passion gets you through the days when you want to strangle 3 or 4 of your children and you don't. So it really does help to have the passion. And I also think a really good teacher has instincts. You use your instincts as much as you use your education. Some of the best teachers I've seen have been the aides that work with students, because they have the good instincts to know, when do I push a child, when do I back off, what children can I do this with, what children can I touch on the shoulder, what children don't want to be touched, what children need a hug sometimes to get them going, or just a pat on the back. And that's instinctual, and I think that that's a very important thing that all teachers, good teachers, I think, have all of those.
it's obvious that all of you have a passion for teaching. And with anything, there are pros and there are cons. I want you to think about the situation that brought joy to your heart, and I want you to think about the situation on the other end of the spectrum that brought tears to your eyes, and speak to our students about those moments.
We start back with me again.
I'll go ahead and go. One of the joyful things, I bet all the teachers up here will say is when you get that aha moment from a student. It will just bring, it's not one specific student per se, but it can be several students per day when they finally get something that you've been teaching for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it finally comes around to them, and they, just by a simple smile or a laugh, they show you that they're really glad that you taught them. So that would be, for me, one of the joyful moments in teaching. And one of the moments that you might, have to kind of like, is...
Because you're not gonna cry, right?
Yeah, you're not gonna
You're not gonna cry.
No,
No tears.
Yeah. So one of those kinds of moments might be, noticing having a family or a family that you've known throughout their time at the elementary school, since I'm there at the elementary school, finding out that they're homeless or something like that. That's one of the things that kind of eat you up inside. So that's a joyful moment for me, and one of the moments that you don't want to really run into as an educator.
I think for me, one of the most joyful moments was I had been teaching a class of 8th graders, and they were self-contained, emotionally conflicted students, so it was a tough group. And I had one of my boys that tried to commit suicide, and I went up to see him in the psych ward at the hospital. And I told him, I said, if you ever try that again, I'm going to kill you myself. So don't you ever do that again. And I saw him about 5 years ago. I was ready to quit teaching. I was very discouraged. A lot of things were changing in education that I didn't agree with. And I saw him in the hallway, and he said, "Are you Mrs. G?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "I want you to know that you saved my life. If it hadn't been for you and your care and concern, I probably wouldn't be alive today." And I think we make a lot more of a difference in kids' lives than we ever realize. And I think that's why some of those kids, are so happy to see you in the store, because you do make a difference. I think the hard part, and the part that really breaks my heart, is when you only have them for a few hours a day, and some of those babies have to go home to really horrible circumstances that you can't do anything about. And that's hard, and you just have to learn to do the best that you can with the time that you have.
I have so many. I've been in Madison County for the last 24 years. But I guess I'm excited. My husband tells me you can't go anywhere where you don't see a student that you taught. But particularly, I came in contact with meningitis at school about 6 years ago, and ended up in ICU, isolated for quite a few days, and went through being on the home health care for a nurse for 6 days. But when they took me into the operating room to put a shunt into my heart, the young man was a student that I had taught. So I was actually lying down, incapacitated, and he looks down at me and says, "Mrs. Palmer." And I thought, "Oh, I'm glad I treated you." Because he was doing something so intricate, into my to my heart. And I guess I've seen quite a few tragedies too, I've just in the last couple of years, one young man was killed because he got involved in drugs. And one day we were locked in school, and the sheriff was, chasing a young man, and he happened to be one of the young men that I had taught about 4 years earlier. And he ended up being wounded by the sheriff and eventually passed. So I've seen a lot of students die tragic ways, and that gives me more of a passion to, you know, try my best to, you know, I feel like I'm saving children. So, you know, I'm aggressive and pushy because of that. And so it just does me good when I have the 7th graders and I just push them all the way to 8th grade. But yet, when they see me in the hall, it's, "Hi, Miss Palmer, what's up?" And I'm thinking like, oh, way I push you, that you would actually feel that way. Because I got to have success. I'm gonna do all I can to make them successful, because I really truly believe that education is the key.
Like you, I feel education is the key. I work in a Title I school. 97% or more of my students live below the poverty level. It's a tough environment. Trying to build the trust with my students. Before I can teach them a thing, they have to trust me, and they have to know that I care. My positive and my negative, I'm going to use the same student. Negative first. This child, behavior issue after behavior issue, grade levels behind where he needs to be. He acts out, he's violent with other students. He comes in and he has an iron mark on his arm. I've been a teacher for less than 6 weeks, and I'm calling Family and Children's Services because this baby's being abused. And he's still in the house, but I understand now why he's creating walls around himself, why he's having such a hard time. He doesn't want to do the work because it's hard. You have to differentiate them where they are. But he doesn't even want to try. He doesn't see the point because he's going to be a football player when he grows up. Well, he's actually really good at destroying the computers. Huntsville has a one-to-one initiative, and he kept downloading stuff to the computers and killing computers, but he could also fix them. So he was my helper. He would come and fix things. I asked him to research what a computer gamer designer made. And he learned, getting to the positive, he learned about a career other than football, something that he needed school for. And that was game design. He learned he could make $70,000 a year being a game designer. I thought, wow, I gotta get into this. We were supposed to be doing a thing on setting and the story elements. He looked up what a game designer does, and it actually said that you have to have strong character development and be able to develop the settings. He moved away from the little project, looking at his future, and he did his assignment for the first time because he realized why it was important for him to be able to do that. That's my good moment, and it's great that he now is trying because he knows where he wants to go from here.
There are so many positive moments when you do see that growth, when you see the light bulbs go off. It is just, it's exciting. We have to sit through data meetings, the teachers do. I feel like every Wednesday on my break, that's what I'm doing, is a data meeting, and try to sit with my students, and we have data meetings too. We go over what they need to do, set goals and work on those, and that's really my, our biggest victory, and sometimes my biggest frustration is when we meet those goals and we're doing it, we do happy dance, we got our round of applause, we have those happy moments, and then we have our come to Jesus moments too sometimes, so we have a when I know that they can do better, they're not pushing themselves. You do have to have those times because I can see the big picture, and I want them to see the big picture too. I want them to see that, hey, I can do this. I got big plans. That's our theme, is big plans in my class. And I read in the book at the beginning of the year, and we make our big plans for the year. We make our big plans till high school. We make our big plans for our future. And so we gotta work for those big plans, and so you've gotta take little steps before you can get to those big plans.
Oh, no, I went.
You went?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I think
you
I'm,
were the first, yes.
I'm last but least. I think a positive, and this is one of my students right here, Leah, I'm gonna pick on you, but is when they come back and say, do y'all still play this game or do this game or whatever? And you know, that's good that they remember that. Or do you remember the day that you said this or did this, and that's good. But I've never shared this with anybody, but hearing some of these other stories, I've kind of kept it locked up, but when I first started teaching, we had this child, and he was a troubled child. And anyway, he left our school system after the 5th grade. And a few years later, he committed suicide. And this is real, y'all. And y'all, if you're in it long enough, something like this is going to happen. And I still feel guilty that maybe I did take some time with him, and I was stern with him, and tried, and I helped those other teachers the best I could to try to help this young man. But you know, I just feel like I feel a little guilty that maybe God was trying to use me, and I didn't listen to God about something that I could have helped this child with. And that kind of hit it home when one of your students that you taught has committed suicide or gotten off on the wrong path, because it's going to happen. If you're in this game long enough, you're going to see that a student that you taught is in that arrest report or is in that cemetery. And when it happens, it'll hit you for a minute, because you're thinking, could I have taken an extra 5 minutes? Could I have bought a child a Bible? Could I have talked to DHR? What could I have done that I didn't do? And you're going to live with it. And I live with it, because this child was smart. Home life was not very good. Great athlete. Everybody liked him. But he had some problems. And I sit here and wonder, what could I have done different? And hopefully I won't make that mistake with another one down the line. So I know that's kind of a downer, but that's real. And we need to talk real. So that's mine.
So our experts have given us a plethora of information, a wealth of knowledge, and a lot of insight into what it's like on a daily basis in a classroom, whether that be an elementary classroom or a middle school classroom. Now, we want to hear from you. Okay? What schools do you represent? Parker High in Birmingham, okay. Okay, how many hours did it take you to get here? 4 hours, okay. Athens High? Athens High.
Scottsboro.
Okay, Scottsboro, what school?
Hospital.
This is Scottsboro High School, okay. And Hartsville High School, okay. I want you to turn and talk to your neighbor for 2 minutes. Talk about what you heard. Internalize what you heard. And think of a question that you will pose to our panel. Okay? You have 2 minutes.
And actually, a lot of people in Chicago,
Best friend from Alabama, she's got a job, but she actually considers Wisconsin. Big campus. She worked there, so she's got
Chicago's got so much. And they're all right within walking distance of each other.
That's why I told her, I was like, you can draw.
I make sure
Crazy is what they want. They need entertainment.
I had lived in Huntsville for many years. My husband and I went there for Cubs games last summer, and a lot had changed inside of it. So it was really cool to go back. Stuff was done with down.
They asked me to teach sports business in Brown.
The dot system? Yeah.
My mom is,
The Daniels was so big.
Oh, really?
You all have some wonderful questions ready for our panel?
Yeah, I love
At
it.
the beginning.
Yes? Okay, great. Volunteers. Who wants to ask a question? Okay?
How do you deal with disciplinary problems? Like students who act out a lot?
I think that's where instinct comes in, because you're gonna deal differently with each child. I mean, each child is different, and different things work for different children. And so once you get to know your students, and I think someone else said you have to earn their trust. And I think if they trust you, you're gonna have a lot easier time than if they don't trust you. So I think building those relationships at the beginning of the year is very important. And you will save yourself so much heartache if you start at the beginning of the year with those procedures and you stay with them. And because the kids know then what you expect. You know, if you set your expectations, and then you have, this is what happens if we have a problem the first time, the second time, the third time. And if they know you're gonna follow through on that, and there's gonna be some, they're gonna push you right away to make sure that you really are gonna follow through. And if you do that, and they know you're going to do that, then they can relax and enjoy their year, and you can relax because you don't have them constantly pushing the buttons to see if you can.
for me, I have some kids that have ODD. So I have some strong defiance in the classroom, and then they kind of feed off of each other. With those kids, if you are firm, remember I'm a first-year teacher, so I'm learning this as I go. If you are firm the way you're supposed to be, and you back them into a corner almost, it doesn't work. Don't back a kid into a corner. Don't make them lose face in front of their friends. Instead, give them a little bit of space, give them a choice. You may complete this now, or you may get a sip of water, then complete it. You give them just a little bit of choice. You may do this way, or you may do it that way. And then and then turn away and let them make the choice. You'll get what you want, they get what they want, and you don't have the showdown. When you have the showdown, everybody loses. And be more positive. Have a lot more positives than negative comments. Look for the good, you'll find it.
For my discipline, when I first started, I had these little clip charts, I had key charts, and I would document, like if Johnny just broke a pencil the wrong way and didn't like it, I would write it down. Well, as I began teaching throughout the years, I was like, this is way too much on me. I'm sitting there documenting every little thing that someone does. So what I've done is, like you said, you have to build a relationship, and I just went totally away from documenting everything because I've noticed throughout the years that once the children go home and see with their parents, you know, what their behavior was every day, that's the thing that parents are talking about is their behavior. And that shouldn't be the first thing that they say when they walk in the door. Parents tend to say, so how did you do today? Or how was math, or how was reading? That's the type of thing that I kind of wanted my parents to really talk to them about instead of their behavior. And if there was a situation, there is a situation in class, I mean, I got text message, I got email, I mean, we got smartphones, so that's kind of how I communicate with my parents. But I do have things in my classroom that, you know, I have discipline, you know, timeout or something like that, no recess or something like that. And just being firm and being consistent, I think is the main key of discipline in the classroom. And that's worked for me over the years. So I kind of did away with the key chart and the different charts and stuff like that. And in first grade, they have like treasure boxes and stuff. And I try to tell my kids that, you know, being good in class is something that you should do. You shouldn't be rewarded for it. So they kind of, you know, we've kind of built a kind of a relationship with each other and trust. So that goes far in the classroom.
Another question?
Do you guys, like, when you guys retire or anything, you know, do y'all have, like, do you guys think you'll have a legacy left behind, you know, your job, like, people remember you for something special that you did in your life?
For a time. You know, it's not eternal, but yeah, I do. And I do think, I met a young lady not too long ago who happened to, when I was teaching in one particular school, she actually, we were going to lunch and she kind of loitered behind and set the trash can on fire. I got my first reprimand from administration because I had some water in my hand and I automatically threw it to put out the fire. But I was told I should have pulled the fire alarm. But I actually met her not too long ago and she walked up to me and asked, you know, did I know who she was? And of course, I still know her name, you know. And it's been years ago, it's probably my second year teaching. But she told me what she was doing that was so positive, turned her life around. So, yeah, I mean, to me, to be able to see them like she's talking about, to be able to run into them all over and see the positive things, that's what I look at, that I've been blessed to see it. You know, after I leave this world, you know, that's what people say, you know, people say good and bad. I think you have to know that you've done. Well, you know, I tell students that I go to bed at night, I go over, even if I've had some conflict with students, I still go over what I could have done better and how I can go back and do it better.
And when you get graduation invitations,
Mm-hmm.
that, I think that means a lot too.
Very good. One last question. in the back.
What do you do when like there's like a group of children in your class that doesn't comprehend what the teacher's teaching, but then the other group is ready to move on, but you just stay on that one subject, or do you keep going?
Well, that's gonna be every classroom you have.
Yeah, that's
You're gonna have those that are way behind and you're gonna have those that are ready to move on 2 grades above. And that's something that you'll learn as you go through your classes, how to differentiate, and that's something that you'll have to do no matter where you are. You're gonna have those kids that are, you know, on all ends of the spectrum.
That's one thing. For example, though, I have kids that are on 4th grade level down to pre-K. And we are still working on story elements, say, but they have different books in front of them. So somebody's got Magic Schoolhouse, somebody's got Biscuit, somebody's got, you know, you can have the same graphic organizer that they're gonna write their answers in, so that they look like they're doing the same thing. You can give a little bit less to some who need it, but they can be working at their level on the same activity, and then you work in small group on getting the kids where they all need to be.
Any parting thoughts from either of you?
It's rewarding. You don't do it for the money. But, you know, some days I even forget it's payday. I'm serious. you know, because we don't do this, we don't do it for the money. Now, it's not terrible money, so I'm not telling you that, but I'm just saying you don't do it for monetary gain.
I have one question. We have a one initiative at our school, at Murphree Madison High School in Doza, with iPads, and, it has, this was our first year, and there has been some real challenges with that. How, you all,
Huntsville City.
That's like that technology.
how's that going for you?
It's difficult. It, in theory, is wonderful. I mean, it's a way to differentiate. So you need to have your backup plan in case technology isn't working. You can't just be dependent on technology. There are things like in Huntsville, for computers, we have this program called Dino, which is where the teacher can look at all the computer monitors, and you can shut down computers if they're on the wrong task. You can take screenshots of what they're doing. You can also send assignments back and forth so that the kids don't have to have email, but you can forward things back and forth. So that's good. I like a program called Nearpod. Have you guys heard of Nearpod? Nearpod, the kids go at the same pace. So you're on the same slide, it's interactive, but they can't go to something else. That would help, like with an iPad, that they would all have to be on topic because they couldn't go to a different slide.
Yeah, I think, when we first started, the infrastructure wasn't there, and so the system crashed a lot. And we were supposed to, we were told 70% of our day was supposed to be using technology. And it isn't a reality. And for a lot of my students, their eyes get very tired after being on the computer for a length of time. And some, like our high schools, they have no textbooks at all anymore. At elementary school, at least, we still have our textbooks. And my children will ask, can I please read from my book? Because their eyes just get really tired on the computers. It's wonderful for, they love making PowerPoints and Pressies, and they love getting their information on that, and it's a great way to really motivate them to learn information. So it's wonderful in that way. But for the day-to-day, language arts, reading, those kinds of things, it's really difficult. And it's also, our 5th graders take their computers home every day, and they come back, they're constantly crashing because all these viruses have come. They have little flash drives. I have got 5 flash drives in my purse right now that I confiscated this week, because they're constantly getting other people's flash drives and downloading stuff from other people, and then they get the viruses. And half of our class is in the shop, it seems like, at any given time. So it can be very frustrating in that way too.
Can your students download apps that they?
Well, they're not supposed to be able to download things, but they have found a way around all of it. If I have a computer question, I ask my 5th graders, because they're going to be able to tell me what to do and how to get something.
Well, a lot of times, not in any of these students right here, just let me say that, but a lot of times I find that, they can't get on any site that I need them to, but all those games they have on there, they're working fine.
And speaking of games, I think that's why physical education is going to be so important in the future. These children go home and they play on their games, and they need that release, and it needs to be structured to ease.
I'm ready to retire. This is, if June will be my retirement day. But I had already come up with a plan for next year for a little bit different than what they're used to for iPads and things, because it's just such a constant battle that I think, cell phones as well.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you all so much. Teaching, of course, is a wonderful, rewarding profession. And in this life, you're born, all of you were born,
Mhm.
and one day, all of you will leave this earth. But what's most important is the dash. And
Right.
today, you have shared your knowledge with our students. You can add today to your dash. Let's thank from veteran teachers to our novice teachers. Let's give them a round of applause.